Welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. Let's continue exploring classical China era's character. And today is another one that holds such a special significance in the Chinese culture. It's almost like the origin thoughts of how ancient Chinese view the world. And how do we know, right? This is the evidence that how we know it's somebody who, I guess, the ancient kings, the earliest kings before China got unified into this empire like a dynasty system, like before then, 3,000 years ago, the kings back then standardize or capture or compile this ancient school of thought into the book of change, what the Westerners know as I Ching. And this is, I know, the sound marking that's different from today's standard Chinese romanization of the pronunciation markings. In Chinese, we call it I. So there's a Y in front of this I. So it's not about I at all. I Ching is about the book of change. And I, like this ego, this human centric point of view, is really in comparison to the whole cosmos, the whole operating system, I guess, for lack of word, of the whole world. It's like individuals, like what we thought. It's not about I at all. It's like non-I, like a negative I. So Book of Change, that's 2,000 years ago. Somebody compiled it. So the thought even starts earlier. I don't know who, like we know Confucius is in Taoism, right? But obviously before them, even there are even more ancient deep thinkers that came up with this system to observe how things unfold and correlate and try to map all that observations into this deep thinking book of change. Not only talking about relational thing, but also sequential, like how things would unfold. What A plus B would cause. It's not as easy as that, but we know yesterday we talked about gua. So that trigram, uh, eventually this 2 to the power of 3, this is 3 lines, either connected or disconnected, created 8 possibilities. And when they pair with themselves again, like a double it, then that creates 8 by 8, 64. Great. It's even more comprehensive or higher granularity of how things would evolve. So this almost like a double dial system, 8 by 8, is, I guess, one of the major thoughts that came from the Book of Change, which is the ancient predictive modeling about how things are going to unfold. So, how Chinese express change. This is a family name in China as well, so we can totally say somebody's Mr. Mrs. Change. That's interesting, right? That's a cool family name, I would say. Okay, so how this concept exists on the top is the sun symbol. It's kind of like a rectangularized sun. It's not fully sphere with a horizontal line. That I repeated many times. It's a energetic. This one horizontal line means there's energy. The spheric ball. So energetic ball is a Chinese definition of the sun. And that plus at the bottom here is the spread of the wing. So the wing symbolizes flight. So the flight of the sun give us the sense of changing of time because the sun is constantly traveling across, right? That's observational, like universal truth. Like everybody see the same sun. And we can all agree that the sun would take the flight across the sky. And that's a constant, even if you may not observe it, like instantly, the change may be unobservable. But if you stay there long enough and it's measurable by our sundial, you can see things keep changing. So using the flight of sun is a perfect way to say things are going to change. And sometimes the change are unnoticeable, but definitely it's changing. Okay, 易经, I translated the canon. So we have not long ago talking about this 经 means warp. So the things kind of, unifying pillars of thinking, of thoughts, of philosophy, all that continuations through the culture. And we regard like a classical literature, like 诗经, poetry, classical book, and 易经, this predictive model, this book about change, also with the same word, 经, canon. So 易经 is that one, let's say, originated from China and casts a long shadow. Even if I grew up in China, it was not really taught to the Chinese. I don't exactly why. There's a big missing part. Like it's like a black hole in there that there's an ancient thought by some earlier wise people grew up from this culture, and the later days sages grew like everybody like grew up from this foundational thought. I don't know why in my education it was not emphasized. We came across it. Yeah, we have like a little bit description of who produced this and kind of a historical concept, but never dive deep into it, like what this book is about. What did it talk about? What is bagua? Like what is this? Well, in this bagua, it will be hexagram, not trigram. It becomes 6 lines. It gets more complicated. So 2 to the power of 6, that's 64, right? So all that, this canon, I guess it's a canonical thinking philosophy, not deeply exposed to the Chinese learners. So, I mean, I'm doing this, I'm trying to dig a little bit deeper myself. So, yeah, if you're interested to later in this year or maybe next year to, unpack 易经, gosh, that would be wonderful. I mean, for me, I probably will want to do that, but I feel like my language storage understanding of the Chinese culture through language, through unpacking these icons, may prepare me to an extent, but I feel like I'm still very lacking in that. Anyways, if you want to dive in to check out what this book of change is about, how Chinese model this world to predict what's going to happen, this beyond just yin and yang, this bipolar view. What other dimensions, how other intricacies we may unpack about the operation of the world, then yeah, let me know. Okay, 轻易. So 易, because it's about change, and change is almost like a given. It's always going to happen. So that's associated with easy. To hold a steady still, that's the hard thing. To keep changing, that's the easy one. So it's associated with easy. And 轻 means light. We pair light and easy. It's simply English way to say easily or lightly, conveniently. 轻易. So yeah, it's like easily. Okay. 交易, 交易, 易 still means change. And in this case, it's change of hand. It's 2 parties cut a deal and they exchange. So instead of say exchange, we kind of say exchange, and you can almost see this X in there, right? In English, we have this exchange thing, and in Chinese, we have this 交. It's a person cross their legs, and that means mutual, like this interaction there. So that means change of hands. That's a Chinese way of say exchange. And in contemporary Chinese, 交易 oftentimes simply means trade. Oftentimes it's a stock market trading. So we use exchange, or simply means transaction. So to show an imagery of change. So Unsplash, the website, gave me this, many image to represent what could be changed. Because change is not like a snapshot of the physical world, which is a steel frame, which is what Chinese characters mostly capture, because only two-dimensional, right? You cannot go even further. But the Chinese way has the Chinese character system has a way to capture four-dimensional thing to express distance, also express change over time by rotating or flipping things around. So to express something as abstract as change, because change is actually a derivative of two status, right? And then you have this slope, right? This rate of change. That is not directly observational. So to represent this concept of humans observing things that one thing is going to change another one, I think this worm transform into a butterfly is a good change symbol to show you that long ago, ancient language users, this cultural foundational thinkers, they already create a book of change. Not only map out what things are, but they try to map out how things go, how things will change. And that's amazing. And I hope later this year I can do some digging into the book of change to get closer to the root of thinking, tracing back to 3,000 years. So, thank you for your time. See you another day.